Ever wish you had like a cheat sheet for entrepreneurial success? Well, we're taking a deep dive into business and entrepreneurship, tips and stories from successful entrepreneurs to uncover just that. You sent this in because you really want to learn what it takes to build something from nothing.
It's incredible how this book lays out this map for success, right? And they use all these different entrepreneurial journeys to do it.
It's true. And they don't waste any time. They jump right into talking about that, like almost obsessive passion that's needed.
Oh, absolutely. They compare it to the fuel that keeps you going, through all those long nights and the hurdles that inevitably pop up.
Right. They use Sara Blakely as an example.
The
Spank.
wanks, yeah.
But it's more than just taking a personal annoyance and turning it into a billion-dollar company. It's how she did it.
Yeah, exactly. She saw a problem, and she definitely took action. Blakely didn't have this background in fashion or business or anything, but she spent 2 whole years, researching and designing her product before she even launched it. It's pretty inspiring.
Talk about dedication, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to that next big takeaway, right? Passion is great, but it needs a focus.
Yeah.
Like a real-world problem that people really need a solution to.
Exactly. Think about Elon Musk and Tesla, right?
Yeah.
He's tackling sustainable energy, Steve Jobs. Completely revolutionized, user-friendly tech with Apple. They saw this need and addressed it in a way that no one had really done before.
Yeah. It's about kind of like scratching beneath the surface to find those solutions, the ones that people didn't even know they needed yet. It's like Airbnb.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about changing the game when it comes to how we think about travel and accommodations.
Right. And they really tapped into a common frustration that so many people experience, the high cost of hotels, especially during conferences and things. To offer a completely new solution, renting out personal homes, brilliant.
It's such a good story. Okay, but even with a killer idea and a ton of passion, this book doesn't shy away from risk, It's all about calculated risk, not just jumping into the unknown.
It's about being smart about it. It reminds me of Richard Branson.
Oh, yeah?
The Virgin Group.
The Virgin Group, right.
He's a great example of someone who, on the surface, seems fearless, right? But he's actually incredibly strategic about managing risk.
Yeah. I don't get a reckless vibe from him.
No, not at all. And they give this example in the book of Virgin Atlantic. Did you know that he actually leased just one plane to test the market before he went all in?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Minimizing his risk while still allowing himself to explore a new venture.
It's like dipping your toes in the water before you just dive in head first. Okay, so let's talk about something that I think most people try to avoid, failure.
It's inevitable, but instead of fearing it, right? This book really encourages entrepreneurs to look at failure as this learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Which it really is.
It's reframing it.
It is. It totally is. And it's so true. Every successful entrepreneur, every single one, has experienced setbacks, right? Some bigger than others. But what sets them apart is how they bounce back.
Yeah. And they use Howard Schultz as an example.
Yes.
And the early days of Starbucks. And it's just wild to think about Starbucks being rejected by investors.
Right. Can you imagine? But it just goes to show you, right, that instead of letting that rejection completely derail him, he used those early struggles and he refined his approach. He adapted and ultimately redefined the entire coffee shop experience. It's the perfect example of turning a stumbling block into a stepping stone.
It's like they always say, you learn more from your failures than you do your successes, right?
Right.
But, another thing it's super crucial is having a solid network. And this book really stresses how important that is.
Oh, absolutely, because no one can do it alone. It's impossible.
Right.
You need mentors, you need advisors, investors, even just fellow entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
They all become part of your support system. They can offer guidance, they can brainstorm with you. Sometimes they open doors that you didn't even know existed.
It's like having this secret weapon almost.
Yeah.
Like your own personal brain trust to help you navigate all the ins and outs of building a business.
Exactly. And they talk about Reid Hoffman,
Yeah.
co-founder of LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Huge believer in the power of connections, right?
Yeah.
Leveraging your network. LinkedIn's built on that idea, so.
Right.
And it's not surprising that Hoffman really used his own network to help fuel the growth of that company.
Right. Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And, speaking of navigating, all the twists and turns of the business world, this book really stresses how important it is to be adaptable, especially in today's world where things change so quickly.
Oh, it's essential, really. What works today might be outdated tomorrow. The business landscape is constantly evolving, and the book really drives home the fact that you need to evolve with it.
Or you get left behind.
Exactly.
It's like that quote, "The only constant is change." Have you heard that one?
Yes.
Yeah, so true.
So true. And it made me think of that whole thing with Twitter
Oh, yeah.
becoming X.
Yeah, talk about a pivot.
It's incredible because they started as this platform for podcasts and then to completely shift gears
Completely.
and become this social media giant. That's wild.
It is pretty incredible when you think about their story.
It is. And, it's interesting because they saw that the podcasting landscape was changing,
Yeah.
with Apple becoming such a big player. And so instead of being stubborn and sticking to their original model, they decided to embrace this emerging world of microblogging,
Yeah.
And look at them now.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. It really is a testament to how important adaptability is.
Totally. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the importance of passion, problem solving,
Yeah.
calculated risks. We even touched upon embracing failure a little bit.
Yeah.
Building that network,
Important.
right? Adapting with the times. Of all of that, if you had to pick just one thing, one key ingredient that is absolutely crucial for entrepreneurial success, what would it be?
Oh, wow. You're putting me on the spot here.
I know. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It's like asking me to pick a favorite star in the sky. I mean, honestly, all of them are so important in their own way.
They're all interconnected, too.
Exactly. But if I had to choose, I think I would say the ability to kind of blend all of these different skills with this unwavering sense of resilience.
Resilience. I like that. So tell me more about why resilience stand out to you.
Well, because I feel like resilience is the thing that really helps you weather the inevitable storms, It's about having that deep passion that fuels your vision, right? It's the problem-solving skills to help you overcome obstacles. And it's having that adaptability too, right? So you can navigate those ever-changing conditions. Resilience is about, getting back up,
Yeah.
every time you stumble. And hopefully you come back stronger and wiser than you were before.
You use those stumbles as stepping stones to propel you forward.
Exactly.
I love that. And I think that's such a good point, that these aren't just lessons for entrepreneurs, though. They're life lessons.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter what your aspirations are. If you're starting a business, you're tackling a new project at work, whatever it is, these insights from the entrepreneurial world are so valuable, They're tools. They can help you navigate challenges and achieve your goals.
They can. And I think this book does such a great job of breaking it all down,
Yes.
in a way that's both relatable and inspiring at the same time.
It's very encouraging. It really makes you want to examine your own approach to things.
Yeah. It makes you think, how can you be more entrepreneurial in your everyday life? Maybe it's finally pursuing that passion project you've been putting off, or, approaching a challenge at work from a different angle, from a different perspective.
Or maybe it's just about, embracing the unknown a little bit more.
Yes.
Having the courage to go for it.
That's what it's all about. And you know what? That is a wrap on our deep dive into business and entrepreneurship. Tips and stories from successful entrepreneurs.
I've had such a good time diving into all this.
Me too. This was a good one.
It was a good one.
It's funny, we always think about entrepreneurship as this big, scary thing, but this book really breaks it down.
It does. Makes it feel manageable.
Yeah. And it reminds us that it's not about having all the answers right away.
Right. It's more about, the journey, I guess.
Yes. Having the passion to learn new things.
Yeah.
And the resilience to adapt when things get tough. And just the courage to embrace the unknown.
Definitely. And it's funny because I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. Business and entrepreneurship doesn't just show us how these super successful people think. It helps us,
Yes.
tap into our own entrepreneurial spirit.
It does. It does. It leaves us with that lingering question,
Yeah.
How can you be more entrepreneurial?
In your own life, right?
Yes, even in everyday life. In this deep dive, it really got my wheels turning, I'm feeling inspired. I want to be bolder, more creative, even a little fearless,
That's awesome. I'd love to hear that. That's what we want. And for anyone listening, I hope you feel that way too.
I hope so too. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into business and entrepreneurship, tips and stories from successful entrepreneurs. We hope you feel empowered, ready to chase those dreams, right?
Big or small.
Exactly.
Because remember, entrepreneurship, it's not about the destination. It's all about the journey.
The journey it is.
Constantly learning, constantly growing, pushing yourself.
Yeah. And who knows what you're capable of, right?
Right.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive.
We'll see you next time.